So it's Father's Day 2022, and my wife dropped $50 on some beautiful ribeyes. Everyone's outside. They got their drinks. They're all expecting something awesome. Here I am thinking that I knew how to cook a perfect steak on a propane grill. I was wrong. I completely destroyed them. Burned on the outside, raw in the middle. My son actually spit his out and went looking for some leftover pizza. My mother-in-law just sat there moving her steak around her plate, not saying a word. That was when I realized I had no clue what I was doing. Has this ever happened to you? If you said yes, what I'm about to show you is going to fix everything. I found 3 massive problems that kill every steak, and I'm going to show you how to fix them. This is how I cook perfect steaks on a propane grill. No more disasters, no more wasted money, just perfect steaks. Now, for years, I thought grilling steaks was simple. Hot grill, throw the meat on, flip it, done. What could go wrong? Turns out everything. My steaks came out tough or raw in the middle, and sometimes it was both. I'd stand there with my tongs trying to figure out if they were ready. Basically just guessing every time. I blamed the grill. I blamed the meat. Maybe I needed charcoal instead of propane. Never thought it was me. Then came my brother's birthday party. He bought these nice New York strip steaks, and it probably cost him about $30 a pound. Everyone's watching me work the grill like I know what I'm doing. 30 minutes later, I'm serving steaks that had the texture of a tire and twice the chewiness. Nobody said anything, but I could tell. And that night, I couldn't sleep. All I was doing was thinking about that good meat that I just wasted. And all those dinners where my family just politely ate bad food, all because I couldn't cook it right. I finally admitted I didn't actually know how to cook a perfect steak on a propane grill. I was just winging it and hoping for the best. Something had to change. So I went down the rabbit hole. YouTube videos until 2 a.m. I even called my buddy who used to work at one of those fine dining steakhouses. I was determined to figure this out. The breakthrough came when I realized I wasn't making one mistake, I was making 3 big ones, and they were all working together to ruin every steak that I touched. Once I identified what these 3 things were, it all made sense. And I remembered the first time that I put it all together. It was just a regular Tuesday. I had just grabbed a couple of ribeyes from the grocery store. I grilled them up, and when I cut into that steak, it was perfect. Pink all the way through, wall to wall. Juices stayed put. It had a nice crust on the outside too. My wife took a bite and just stared at me. Then she said, "Did you order this from somewhere and just pretend that you cooked it?" That's when I knew I finally figured it out. The first thing that was killing my steaks happened before I even turned on the grill. I used to grab steaks straight from the fridge and give them a quick sprinkle of salt and pepper and then throw them on. And if you're doing that, you're setting yourself up to fail. When you put wet steak on the hot grates, you're not searing it, you're steaming it. All that surface moisture has to cook off before any of the browning can occur. By then, the inside's already overcooked. Here's what I do now, and it completely changed my results. First, dry those steaks off really well. I use paper towels and I press hard into every surface. Sometimes I'll go through 3 or 4 paper towels per steak. I want them as dry as possible. When I show people this, they're always surprised how much moisture actually comes off. Then we're going to move on to seasoning. Season them heavy. I'm not talking about a light dusting, really coat both sides. Do this with kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper. I like to add some smoked paprika too, because it gives some more depth than a regular paprika. You can use a store-bought barbecue rub too, just to make sure that it has some salt in it, because that salt's going to pull out even more moisture over the next 30 minutes. Which is exactly what we want. Now, the last thing, let them sit out on the counter for 30 minutes. I know it feels weird leaving meat out, but cold steaks cook unevenly. Outsides gets hammered while the inside stays cold. Room temperature steaks cook evenly. I used to think this prep stuff was unnecessary. Then I compared a properly prepped steak to my old method, and the difference was night and day. I had a better crust, better color inside, and way better flavor. Get this prep right and you're already ahead of most people. Now, the second thing that was ruining my steaks was heat management. I just crank everything to high and throw the steaks on and hope it worked out. And the results were what you would expect: a burnt outside and a raw inside, or a cooked outside with rubber on the inside. Learning proper heat control was the biggest thing that changed my grilling game. You really need hot grades for that first sear, but you also need to understand heat zones and timing. Most people just blast everything on high and cross their fingers. Here's my process now. Heat the propane grill for at least 15 minutes with the lid closed. Get it up to about 550 or 600 degrees. It should be hot enough that you can only hold your hand over the grates for about 2 seconds, for maybe 2 Mississippis. At that point, turn off one side of the grill so that you have a hot, and a warm side. This is a 2-zone fire setup. Before the steaks go on, brush the grates with a little bit of avocado oil. I ruined so many steaks because they stuck and tore when I tried to flip them. Just use a light coating right before cooking. When you put the steak down, angle it about 45 degrees on the grates. This isn't just for looks, it's about maximizing your contact with the hot metal for better searing. Then you're gonna leave it there for 2 to 3 minutes and then rotate another 45 degrees for those diamond marks. Another 2 to 3 minutes and then flip. That's it. Every time I see someone flipping every 30 seconds, it drives me nuts. You're not helping anything. You're just preventing a good sear from happening. After that flip, if the steaks are thicker than an inch, I move them over to the cooler part of the grill. It's going to be the side where I had briefly turned off those burners. This lets them finish cooking without burning the outside. The timing mistake that used to get me was cooking to the exact doneness that I wanted. Steaks keep on cooking after you take them off the grill. So for medium rare, I pull it about 120 degrees, knowing that it'll coast up to 130. I remember this one cookout where my neighbor was bragging about his surefire timing method. No thermometer, just going by feel. His steaks were all over the place. Some were rare, some were well done. I don't have that issue anymore. Every single one of mine hit that perfect medium rare. The third thing that was killing my steaks happened after they came off the grill. I thought that once they hit the right temperature, I was done. Just cut them up and serve them. That was throwing away all the work that I had just done. This finishing step is where you either nail it or you waste everything you just did. Like I said, I used to slice my steaks the second they came off. I was excited to see how they turned out. I wanted to see that perfect pink inside that I had been working toward. Instead, all the juices I've been trying to keep inside came pouring out onto the cutting board. That's what I learned about resting. And this isn't some fancy chef stuff. It's necessary. When meat cooks, the muscle fibers squeeze tight and push all the juices towards the center. If you cut right away, those juices have nowhere to go but out onto the cutting board. But if you let the steak rest for 10 minutes under some loose foil, those fibers relax and the juices are then reabsorbed. When I learned how to properly rest a steak, I couldn't believe the difference. Instead of juices all over the cutting board, I had a steak that was juicy from edge to edge. I also do one more thing during the rest that takes it up a notch. I put a compound butter right on top while it's resting. That is super easy. What you're gonna do is mix some softened butter, some minced garlic, some fresh herbs, like thyme or rosemary, and a little bit of salt. As the steak sits, that butter melts and soaks in, adding another layer of flavor. Once I started finishing my steaks properly, the difference was night and day. Same prep, same cooking. Now they tasted like a steakhouse instead of just okay. My family went from politely eating my steaks to actually asking when I was grilling again. So let me tell you where I am now compared to where I started. Before I learned how to cook a perfect steak on a propane grill the right way, barbecues were stressful. I'd be outside sweating over the grill, worried I was messing everything up while everyone waited for food that was probably going to be terrible. But now it's the complete opposite. Last weekend, my brother and his wife came over again. Do you remember him from earlier in the video? He's the same guy whose birthday steaks I completely ruined. This time, he actually asked me to grill the steaks for dinner. And he told her, you have to try the steaks. That's a complete turnaround from where I was. The thing is, I'm not doing anything complicated. These 3 fixes, proper prep, heat management, and finishing, none of it is rocket science. But when you put it all together, the results speak for themselves. And I've taught this to probably a dozen friends, and everyone had the same experience. My neighbor went from avoiding steaks to hosting monthly steak cookouts. My coworker Dave became the go-to griller for his whole family. The confidence you get from knowing you can do it right every time is almost as good as the perfect steak. By the way, if you're new to backyard barbecue and you need a little bit of help with cooking times and temperatures, I have a free guide for you. It covers everything from meats to veggies, and it's perfect for getting started. It makes everything super simple for you. All you got to do is comment 100 down below in the comments and I'll send it your way. So that's exactly how to cook a perfect steak on a propane grill every single time. But there's something I didn't tell you at the start of this video. Everything I just showed you is completely useless if you're only cooking steaks. Because here's what happened at my last barbecue. I nailed these perfect steaks. Everyone was raving about them. And then my buddy asks, so what's next? Are you going to show us how to make those incredible ribs that you make too? And that's when it hit me. People want the whole barbecue experience, not just steaks. So click on this video right here if you want to learn how to cook fall off the bone ribs step by step. It's an awesome video, so check it out now, and I'll see you there.